All right, hey, this is Josh, Dream Body Clinic, and I'm here today with Michelle. And she wanted to, you wanted to ask me questions today.
That's right.
So we're doing this a little backwards today. So
Yeah.
Michelle just finished treatment, and let me know what the questions are. Let's get into it.
Okay. So I'm here on behalf of all the Lyme disease warriors out there. As you know, that's such a debilitating disease that many of us kind of bounce in lots of different places to try to find help.
Yeah.
And so I want to showcase all the different opportunities and options there are for people that are really suffering with this disease. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions.
Please, let's dig into it.
So can you tell me what treatments you specifically offer that are for Lyme disease patients?
Yeah, so we really just have the one protocol as our main thing. That is with the mesenchymal stem cells. Like what we do the IV with the intrathecal. So with that, our thinking is Lyme tends to hide. So we used to only do the IV. That'll go through your whole system, but places like the brain, spinal cord, those are tough to get to. And assuming Lyme, can hide just about anywhere, once we started doing the intrathecal a few years back, and it's like 3 years ago, we're like, we should definitely do this for Lyme. Have a feeling this will help. There's a lot of viruses and different things that tend to hide in the lower back or in the spinal cord fluid. So we figured, okay, let's get the stem cells in there. Let's make sure they can get through. They can attack anything there in the brain. They send out a lot of what's called LL37. It's a very powerful natural antibiotic. It's a peptide our body produces. They can help break things down like bad bacteria, as is the case with Lyme. So that's what we do, and that's what we've been seeing has worked the best. We do recommend people try to weaken it before coming, things like ozone therapy, and you probably know better than me. You've probably been through just about everything. So, the more you can weaken it, the better the chance we have of fighting it off with the stem cells is our thinking.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Can you tell them specifically what the intrathecal procedure is like?
Well, I think you can now.
Yeah.
I've done it too. I refuse to offer treatments I haven't done myself. And that one took me a little while to wrap my head around because we are going into the lower back. Is a tiny needle. It's like a 30 gauge. It's the size of an insulin needle. So, you're kind of leaned over, head tucked, and they go in and you feel the pinch like any needle. But after that, I didn't feel much. I felt a little pressure in my hips. I don't know. What did you feel?
I thought it was extremely simple, and there was such a little amount of discomfort that it was not what I expected, and I was very pleasantly pleased with how simple it was.
Yeah.
And I for myself am really hoping that the stem cells can go up and kind of get rid of inflammation in my brain, which I know stem cells are so grateful for, and can help with my memory and my cognition to handle kind of difficult tasks. Subsequent difficult tasks have become very difficult for me. So that's what I'm mainly looking for from the intrathecals. So that's my fingers crossed on that.
And I think that's a great point. And I think it's a good thing why we added that is the inflammation at the brain. There seems to be, with most patients with Lyme, those sort of issues. They're always telling me about brain fog, different things. And this really seems to relieve that for them. So we'll be followed up with you.
Yeah, for sure. And special to note or important to note is the day before we did this, you guys prepped me with another treatment that they put in the IV. It came in those little vials. Maybe you can talk about that, what that does.
Yeah, so we use some Cerebrolysin beforehand. Cerebrolysin is a combo of 14 different peptides. They are able to cross the blood-brain barrier. It's usually something we add on. Sometimes we'll offer ozone to people like we had talked with you, but we just, the stuff wasn't set up to do it right. So that's why I gave you the Cerebrolysin. Cerebrolysin was developed by the Soviet Union back in I think 1948 or 49. So it was a long time ago. And a lot of really great peptides were discovered back then. The problem is a lot of them never became medications in the US because of the whole FDA system. You have to apply, then you have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to get them approved, and then you can't patent it. It's been off patent for decades. So there's no financial incentive to bring it to market. Fortunately, in Europe they did, in Russia they have, and in China. So like the cerebrolysin you used was manufactured in Austria, and it's available in a lot of parts of the world. I found out it was approved here through one of our patients who uses it as like a nootropic just for enhancing his brain. And because of that, I was like, okay, I looked into it, and we realized, hey, it's an approved medication here. It helps the brain. Why not use it? Like you can't get in the States, and there's a little loophole in the law that you can seek medical treatment abroad and return home with up to 50 dose units. So we have a lot of patients that'll come down for stroke recovery, for traumatic brain injuries, and that's really the main medication for that, along with like an intrathecal treatment of stem cells.
Okay. How long can a person expect before they can see any kind of results?
Well, I mean, it's different for everyone. There's no one size fits all. I've never seen two patients have the exact same timeline, but I would say for the most part, 3 to 6 months. And that's with almost all of our treatments, because cellular regeneration, cellular repair takes time. Nerve things tend to happen a bit faster. I had some sciatic nerve pain years ago that we fixed. It was gone within 10 days. And it was like debilitating, felt like there was a cattle rod to my femur. So with the brain and spinal cord, like with the intrathecal, those tend to happen faster. But again, it depends how much damage. If there's a lot of scar tissue, that takes longer to get rid of. So it's like, imagine you got a cut on your arm, right? It's going to scab up, and you're still going to have like discoloration probably for a few months before it all looks normal and you can't tell anymore. Sort of doing the same thing internally. It takes time to repair tissue and get it back to normal. We typically see that in the 3 to 6 month mark. The furthest out I've ever seen was 9 months. And that was a very, large patient. I mean, I'm like 6'2", this guy's 6'5", and it just took longer. It was a body weight thing. That's all it was.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I can tell you this, that last night or this morning, I woke up after having that treatment that we just talked about last night. I woke up at 4, and it was one of the most clear-headed I'd been in a long time. Does it work that fast?
Yeah, that one does. The peptides go straight to the brain.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was like, wow, there I am. Yeah. I was like, I've missed me.
Good. Yeah,
it was awesome.
You can't run it nonstop. It sounds weird and gross, I guess, but it's developed, it's from the brains of pigs, the peptides actually, and they're similar enough to human, we can use them, but you can only cycle it like once every, say, like 6 months, because it's 99.9% identical, with that little bit of a difference. If you tried running it all year round,
sure,
your immune system would start to attack. But for short cycles, like when I do it, I'll usually do daily injections. The IV, you can do larger amounts. So you can start, but a normal cycle, you'll do like a daily injection for like 20 days. And it just, just keeps, my reflexes got a lot quicker from it. Like it was crazy. It was, some would fall and I just grab it without thinking, and just felt like the brain was kind of firing a bit faster.
Okay. We love it. What is the cost of the full Lyme treatment?
It's on the website there. So it kind of depends on body weight. That's a big factor to it, right? Like, we recommend for any autoimmune disease 1.4 million per pound of body weight.
Okay.
So, if you're looking at, like, for me, 300 million. So you're looking 300 million is 9,900 plus 3,000 for the intrathecal. So you'd be looking at 12,900 for most, for some people. But then if you weigh a bit less, then you're looking maybe 200 million. So you're looking more in that like $10,000 range. So it's in that kind of range. Yeah.
Okay. So it's body weight. That's what decides. That's what drives the price. That makes sense. Okay. So I think that a lot of people, definitely Americans are concerned about coming down to another country to get a medical treatment. What could you tell them specifically about coming to Mexico, just to put their minds at ease?
Yeah, well, Mexicans are afraid to go to the United States now. You don't hear about school shootings or drive-bys or anything.
Yeah.
There aren't even dangerous neighborhoods here. Drug dealing is not allowed anywhere. And the authorities and the people distribute them to the U.S. don't allow it. So it's actually incredibly safe here. We're at the middle of the country, so we're not like at the border. The border's dangerous on both sides. But I'm from Seattle, and like all my friends who live on the east side will not go downtown Seattle. It's way too dangerous. All the fentanyl issues, all of that. I would say in general, I've lived here for 15 years. Mexico's far safer than the United States. Just about anywhere you could go. And, that's not hyperbole. It's, Puerto Vallarta here is this beautiful beach city that doesn't have dangerous neighborhoods. I've lived here 15 years. I've never seen a violent crime. I can't say that about anywhere I've lived in the United States. I've lived in Seattle. I've lived in Orange County, California. I've lived in Las Vegas. I've seen bad things in all those places. I've never seen that here. It's a very friendly culture.
Yeah.
And it's just the misconception. The news tells us all these bad things, but the news is also trying to make sure people don't retire to Mexico, I think, where your money goes a lot further and, you could live off a Social Security check in certain parts.
Yeah, sure.
The Ponzi scheme can't afford to have that money leaving the country. So,
my experience so far has just been so streamlined. Everybody's been so friendly. Everything has been so safe. I even was out yesterday doing like a little shopping by myself and just caught an Uber, no less.
Nice.
To go back to the hotel, and everything was just as you would hope. So I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. Okay, so how long do you think that this treatment lasts in the body for someone who has Lyme disease? Chronic inflammation, just brain fog, fatigue. And a lot of people with Lyme disease, they really suffer from pain, headaches, and they moved into possibly that autoimmune place, which I know stem cells really help.
Yeah.
So how long do you think this type of treatment, the Lyme protocol that I just had, how long do you think that lasts?
Well, I mean, if it does what it's supposed to and wipes everything out, the goal is one and done. We can't guarantee that. Everyone's different, but if you get the results, if it wipes out the bacteria or, whatever's causing it, autoimmune, it will reprogram your immune system to stop attacking. Those results tend to last.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare anybody has to come back for an autoimmune disease. Yeah.
Okay.
Like we usually are able to knock those out. But if it doesn't, then, you could see results maybe for 9 months to a year. But I haven't seen that with people. It's usually like you get the results or you don't sort of a situation. So that's typically what we see is that it's long-term results, that's the good news.
It's so wonderful because people like us, by the time we are making it down for treatments like this, we've already spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So knowing that this isn't like an annual expense, possibly, you know what I mean? Knowing that this could be kind of like the end of our journey sounds like a dream.
Yeah, I mean, that's our goal, right? That's why we give so many cells that we're truly hoping people don't have to come back. And if they come back, it's for something new. We'll have some patients that will come back maybe once every year or two just for like 100 million IV, just mentally thinking, hey, let's make sure this never comes back. Plus, there's a lot of anti-aging benefits to it. So we do get a lot of people who do that, but it's not because they have to. It's because they like the results. They like it's not just going to fix the Lyme. You're going to get like a lot of other benefits.
Right.
There's a lot of anti-aging benefits, a lot of like organ health benefits, cognition, all these things that we get a lot of people that will come back just to kind of keep that going.
Yeah, like a maintenance just for personal, different reasons. Okay, so I feel like this is something that's so important to address. I did a lot of research myself before I came down. So one of the main reasons people don't get this in the US is because they can't get this level of stem cell. And the reason is the FDA has not approved it. And that was kind of the hang up in my family. They were like, well, why haven't they approved it? And my understanding is that they only allow you to take the stem cells out of one or a cord or placenta or whatever they're using, but they don't allow you to clone them. Is that the right, or grow them? Culture them?
Replicate that.
Okay. And so that's why the treatments down here, this is why people flock down here, because they're so much more potent and you get so much more, the efficacy is so much stronger And so that's why I would love to tell people from the US that are afraid to come down and do this, that it's just night and day what you get there and what you can have here. Is that correct?
Completely. And a lot of doctors won't even do IVs in the United States because either they can't because of regulations or, fear of purity, things like that. Like you can do it 3 ways in the US. They call it minimal manipulation. It's kind of like platelet-rich plasma. It's like you're using your own blood, but you can't manipulate it because somehow that's now a medicine. It's how the FDA actually protects Big Pharma, not how they protect patients, unfortunately, because it's an allopathic medical system. It's a pill for a pill for a pill. And when's the last time they cured something, So they'll let you do a liposuction or chip into your hip and take some bone marrow, and they'll spin it in a centrifuge, and they'll let you administer that to like a joint. They really don't want you doing an IV with that because it's not filtered. It's not pure mesenchymal stem cells unless it's less than 1% of what they're injecting is mesenchymal stem cells. It's not even a stem cell therapy, actually. It's a cell therapy. Like Dr. Arnold Kaplan, he's the professor at Case Western University in Ohio. I've been to conferences with him where he's yelled at these clinics. He's like, that is a cell therapy, not a stem cell therapy. You're lying. That's false advertising. But, it's kind of the American way. It's it's Coca-Cola. That's the example he gives. It's, hey, we're selling you this apple juice. It's all natural. But then you read the back label and it's 99% sugar and water,
Right.
1% apple juice. It's the same thing. The other option they'll give you, and the best option available in the United States, is you can take a whole umbilical cord, isolate the cells, and then cryogenically freeze them and send them to 2 doctors for administration. So that's the best you can get. And the problem there is it's a very traumatic event. First, you're taking the cells from this tissue, then you are cryogenically freezing them, then you have to thaw them. And if you just thaw them in your hand at room temperature, you're going to kill more than half of them. You have to have special ice baths to get it down perfect. And even then, you don't know for sure if you have pure mesenchymal stem cells. It's quite the filtration process to get cells down to where you can have them pure. So they do that, and that's also why they typically don't do IVs with that in the United States. So, with Lyme, you need to get it in an IV. You don't want it just into a joint because, like we said, it can hide. You need to get it wherever you can. So you're very limited in what you can do. Where here in Mexico, we have a socialized healthcare system, plus we have private care. And the good part of that, it's not a great system, but it works really well because it keeps private care very affordable. And also, it means that the socialized care system can't always catch up. They're having a huge epidemic of obesity in Mexico because of the way people eat. There's all these 7-Eleven looking stores called Oxxos everywhere that they sell sweet bread that's like Hostess called Bimbo, and people wash it down with a Coke. It's the perfect recipe for diabetes. There's an epidemic of type 2 diabetes in Mexico now, and it's bankrupting the socialized care system to such a point that a couple of years ago, they had to stop giving metformin for free. And that's one of the cheapest medications in the world. And they literally were going bankrupt because of that, so they stopped.
Wow.
Well, mesenchymal stem cells do a really great job at helping with diabetes. So they allow them, and they've kind of streamlined it so that we can do these, cultured application for treatment. So it was a problem that everywhere in the world is dealing with, actually, is what's allowing this to happen here. And Mexico is very highly regulated. I know people kind of look down on it as Americans, but COFEPRIS is the same thing as the FDA. We still have regulations. We still have all that. They don't have quite the manpower to, maybe enforce everything all the way the U.S. does, but they do. Just takes a little more time. They keep things up to par. So that's what people need to understand. It's like the U.S. is not the best in the world at everything anymore. It sucks. I grew up there. That's what we were taught growing up, but other places have an advantage now because they've gone, so crazy with all their over-regulation.
Right.
And just the system isn't really, it's all designed to make more money, not to make you healthier. That's a problem.
Okay. How long has your clinic been open?
Yes, so our clinic has been open for 10 years, but we've been doing stem cells for 8 years.
Okay, you have built a beautiful facility with 2 buildings and several floors and wonderful phlebotomists. And to get the intrathecal, you use an anesthesiologist who did a beautiful job. Can you tell us a little? And you just completed your lab in September, and I have 2 questions about that. The beginning of September, or I guess it was August, and now it's open in September. 2 questions. The first one is, do some of the clinics, do they buy from you your stem cells? No, everybody kind of makes their own?
There's labs that sell to different doctors and things like that. And, that's where we originally started. But the problem becomes the quality control. They're just trying to sell to everyone. And to keep production and volume up, they tend to cut corners. They start using bovine serum instead of xeno-free medium. Because cells actually grow faster in a bovine serum, which, you would think is good. You got all those extra nutrients, but xeno-free means it's for human use. This is a cow product.
Right.
So we had to get our own thing going, and we only use xeno-free medium. We have enough incubators for ourselves, because it's like baking. Every day you got a new batch coming out. Like, to try and supply too many places becomes a huge issue.
Sure.
So we had to do our own thing. So right now we're partnered with the largest lab in Mexico that mainly does the research for the University of Guadalajara. So we rent space there with our team doing everything. Our lab is not open yet here on site.
Oh, okay.
We're very close. We're just kind of in the final rounds of getting that all together. So we'll have that. But I did things backwards from, say, like Panama is probably the most famous place doing this. They invested everything up front. And it's a huge cost. I mean, we've put millions of dollars into all of this to do it, but we did it backwards, where we built up and have invested everything back in so that we could keep prices lower. Because that's a big thing we get. We're much, much more affordable than most places. I mean, it's still not cheap, but you look at places like Panama, Colombia, there's even places in northern Mexico that they are way more, cost way more than us. And, it's just a whole different thing. So we've invested to have everything here on site so everyone can see it, understand it. Because my goal is the transparency. There's a lot of, lies, bad marketing, different things out there in this industry. So my goal has been to, do everything right and document it all so that we can show people. So that's what we're doing. Those
American standards.
I mean,
which is wonderful,
and
right?
It's like what you said. People are very afraid. It's Mexico. It's these things. Well, you're coming to a place where American is in charge and doing things even above American standards, because I know people have a bad perception of Mexico. I did.
Right.
You imagine some back alley, donkey and, lab in Tijuana, and, it's not what it is. It's highly regulated. Mexico does amazing medicine. And we work with these incredible doctors all the time that have been all over the world doing things. And you're just like, hey, people just, they don't see that, you can be in Mexico and still have top tier doctors. The medical schooling system here is incredible. My wife did a year of med school. Her sister is a doctor. And she did it to see. We were thinking, maybe you just do med school. I run the place. And, but it got too busy. So she did a year. But they had her scrubbing in on surgeries like year one. And she wasn't doing the procedures, but assisting, getting real hands-on experience. So the medical schooling here is top notch. It's Mexico's known for producing really, really great doctors. It's just, there's not a lot of money for doctors here, so a lot of them get exported to places like Spain and other parts of the world where really high-end doctors end up. So we got lucky that our doctors here have only been focused on stem cells pretty much their whole careers.
Wow.
And they've stayed here and, doing amazing work for us.
That's great. That is awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm sure lots of people are wondering, where do you get these cells from? I understand that they are donor cells, and can you tell me what kind of testing goes on to make sure that these donor cells are as we would need them for these types of procedures?
For sure, and I'll even give you the most recent analysis that I'll post this up here for everyone to see and get it up on the site and everything. But what we do is we work with a team of gynecologists that their specialty is really working with first-time mothers. So you can look through that, but it's got all the analysis, all the info from the donor. So this donor here, I think, was 23 years old. That's from July. We go through about 1 umbilical cord a month. And the donors have to be first-time mothers between the ages of 18 and 25. And they have to, we ask questions like how many sexual partners. If they answer, more than one, disqualified. Then we go through all the analysis, which is all of the markers for the cells, any chance of retroviruses, anything, because a mesenchymal stem cell can't carry a virus. But if the donor had a retrovirus, there's a less than 5% chance that could be carried over. So very small, but we want to make sure that's 0. So we screen the women, then we screen the tissue, then we screen the isolated cells, which you see you have that. We do it ourselves, and we have a third-party lab do it. So if you'll see, I think yours were analyzed by the University of Guadalajara. They've got all the equipment there to do that, so that it's not us just saying, hey, these are good. It's like, we need to make sure that it's like someone else has verified too, so that you can know it was, done right, and that we're culturing good cells that can have the highest chance of efficacy. So by having young donors is better, because with birth, it sounds crazy, but if a woman is over 30 and gives birth, it's considered a geriatric birth. It sounds crazy, but you want young, healthy donors. You want, make sure they have no underlying conditions or diseases, anything, because the problem with, say, like autoimmune diseases is that your mesenchymal stem cells have gotten used to that autoimmune disease. So they're not working right. And that's why we don't want our own for autoimmune. We want them from these young, healthy, like 9-month-old tissue that hasn't had enough exposure to an immune system to develop those bad habits. And when it gets in there, it starts, reprogramming things to work the way they're supposed to. So that's why we have to be very, very critical with what we do. They're all donated. There's no money involved, anything like that, because actually reselling umbilical cords, all of that is highly prohibited in Mexico. But taking that and isolating cells and creating the stem cells is a totally different thing. So that's why we're able to do that. But there isn't some like side market of selling tissue or anything.
No, I respect that.
Yeah.
If people are wanting to come down here and they are wanting to work with Dream Body Clinic, how backed up are you?
Right now, about a month.
About a month. So.
It's going to keep pushing further out. We're way more phone calls than even in the past. We just keep getting busier, and we're not trying to scale this. I don't ever want to become that place that's like, and I won't grow it, I guess, size-wise or anything. We want to stay boutique.
Yeah.
We do right now about 150 people a month for different treatments, and that's a lot. I still want to have a life.
Sure.
I still want to take care of my kids, and I want to have time to talk to patients where, we're not overwhelmed. Because my biggest complaint of the American healthcare system is you go to a doctor, you get 5 minutes, they pass you off to their PA, like you don't learn anything, they don't explain anything. Did the doctors go over your blood work and explain everything?
Yes, they did. Yep, they did. And every part of it has been explained, every treatment and every
they watch you through your MRI, and it's not just, hey, you have a bad back. No, it's, hey, you can see physically like where the issue is. And I want that kind of care for people. So, we'll push people further out if we have to, but we're not going to be pushing it to be like, oh, we want to scale. It's why you're not going to see any like celebrity endorsements on ours.
Right.
We've had celebrities, but like I'd rather have their inner circle than like their millions of fans that know nothing about stem cells and all of that, right?
Sure.
I don't want to do that. We've got some really great doctors, American doctors. Like I'll be posting a video in the next couple of days of a really great specialist for nerve pain from Scottsdale, Arizona. And so we've been doing more of that. We want this to stay affordable. We don't want it to be all crazy. And it's not just for celebrities, I guess.
So if anybody is considering coming down and doing this treatment, I would just suggest to watch all of the Dream, his particular videos on this topic, because that's how I found him. And they're very informative, and they're going to give you the confidence and the comfort level to seek this out for yourself. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can help the Lyme warriors out there know just a little bit more about this.
Yeah, I want them to feel good because it's a terrible issue and it's just so much more common now.
Yeah, and complicated.
Yeah.
It's very complicated.
And I get a lot of people that I don't think I ever got bit by a tick,
Yes. Yeah.
So it's getting stranger, some of the different things. You're like, well, then how does that happen? And I don't know. It's a crazy thing. I've got my own theories, but we won't go too crazy, I guess, right now.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. So I'm Josh, Dream Body Clinic. If you want to check us out, go to www.dreambody.clinic, or you can call us toll free anytime at 833-445-9089. So Michelle, I'm Josh. Happy to help.